In the golden age of Hollywood, one man's charm could stop traffic on Sunset Boulevard and make hearts flutter from coast to coast. Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood himself, commanded screens with his roguish smile and masculine magnetism. But behind the carefully crafted image of America's most beloved leading man lay secrets so scandalous they would have destroyed lesser stars. Little did the world know that the very affairs that threatened to topple his throne would ultimately reveal the complex, tortured soul of a man desperately searching for love in a town built on illusion. Before Clark Gable became the undisputed king of Hollywood, he was William Clark Gable, restless dreamer from Ohio, with calloused hands and burning ambition. Born in 1901 to a farming family, young Gable learned early that charm could open doors that talent alone could not. His journey to stardom began in the dusty theater houses of the Midwest, where he honed his craft under the tutelage of older actresses who saw something special in the tall, dark stranger with the crooked smile. By the time he arrived in Hollywood in the late 1920s, Gable had already developed a reputation as a man who could make women swoon, both on and off the stage. His rugged masculinity stood in stark contrast to the polished leading men of the era. Where others were refined, Gable was raw. Where others were predictable, he was dangerous. It was precisely this untamed quality that would make him irresistible to audiences and to the women who would become entangled in his web of desire. His breakthrough came in 1931 with A Free Soul, where his portrayal of a gangster who slapped Norma Shearer across the face sent shockwaves through audiences. Women didn't recoil in horror, they leaned forward in their seats, hungry for more. MGM executives, recognizing they had a goldmine on their hands, quickly crafted Gable's image as the ultimate masculine ideal. But behind the studio's carefully orchestrated publicity machine, the real Clark Gable was already living a double life that would have scandalized his adoring public. The irony was palpable. America's most beloved leading man was about to embark on a series of affairs that would challenge every moral convention of his time. As his star ascended, so too did his appetite for forbidden love, setting the stage for the most shocking romantic scandals in Hollywood history. It was 1931, when Clark Gable first laid eyes on Joan Crawford on the set of Fool's Dance, and the chemistry between them was so electric it could have powered the entire MGM lot. Crawford, already a major star, known for her fierce independence and sultry screen presence, met her match in the ruggedly handsome newcomer. What began as professional collaboration quickly transformed into something far more dangerous, a passionate affair that would span decades and shock Hollywood to its core. Joan Crawford was not just any starlet. She was a woman who had clawed her way from poverty to the pinnacle of stardom, earning a reputation as one of the most determined and ambitious actresses in Hollywood. When she set her sights on Gable, it was with the same intensity that had driven her to success. Their first kiss, according to studio insiders who witnessed it during a break in filming, was so passionate that the entire soundstage fell silent. The affair began in secret, conducted through stolen moments between takes and clandestine meetings at Crawford's Beverly Hills mansion. Studio executives were horrified not because of the moral implications, but because both stars were married to other people. Gable was wed to Josephine Dillon, his former acting coach who was 17 years his senior, while Crawford was married to Douglas Fairbanks Jr., Hollywood royalty. The lovers developed an elaborate system of coded messages and secret rendezvous. Crawford would leave red roses in Gable's dressing room to signal her availability, while he would respond with a single white carnation placed on her car windshield. Their passion was so consuming that coworkers began to notice the charged atmosphere whenever they were together. Directors learned to shoot their romantic scenes in single takes because the chemistry between Crawford and Gable was too intense to maintain through multiple attempts. But perhaps most shocking of all was how little effort they made to hide their affair from their respective spouses. Crawford's marriage to Fairbanks Jr. began to crumble under the weight of her obsession with Gable, while Josephine Dillon watched helplessly as her husband transformed from grateful protege to international star who no longer needed her guidance or her love. By 1930, Clark Gable's marriage to acting coach Josephine Dillon had become a casualty of his meteoric rise to stardom. Enter Rhea Langham, a wealthy Texas socialite, 17 years his senior, who offered something Gable desperately craved: financial security and social standing. Their whirlwind courtship and marriage seemed like a fairy tale to the outside world, but little did anyone know that Gable was already planning his next conquest before the ink had dried on their marriage certificate. Rhea Langham was naive. A sophisticated woman of means, she had been married twice before and understood the transactional nature of Hollywood marriages. She provided Gable with the financial backing he needed to maintain his lifestyle while his career gained momentum, and in return, she gained access to Hollywood's most exclusive circles. Their Houston wedding in 1931 was a grand affair, attended by oil barons and cattle ranchers who saw in Gable the epitome of American masculinity. But even as Gable exchanged vows with Rhea, his thoughts were consumed by Joan Crawford. The timing was no coincidence. Their affair had reached a fever pitch just as Gable decided to secure his position in Hollywood society through marriage. The cruel irony was that Rhea genuinely loved her new husband, showering him with expensive gifts and unwavering support, completely unaware that she was funding his ability to pursue other women. The first years of their marriage were marked by Gable's increasingly brazen infidelities. He would disappear for days at a time, claiming studio obligations while actually holed up in remote cabins with various conquests. Rhea, desperate to maintain the illusion of marital bliss, began making excuses for her husband's absences to their social circle. She convinced herself that his affairs were merely the indulgences of a virile movie star, temporary dalliances that would eventually end. The breaking point came in 1935, when Rhea discovered love letters from Joan Crawford hidden in Gable's study. The passionate correspondence revealed not just a physical affair, but an emotional connection that cut Rhea to her core. Crawford wrote of her dreams of leaving Hollywood with Gable, of starting fresh in some distant land where they could love freely, without the constraints of studio contracts and public opinion. Rhea realized that she wasn't just competing with other women for her husband's attention. She was fighting for his very soul. In 1936, at a glamorous Hollywood party thrown by MGM mogul Irving Clark Gable encountered the woman who had become both his greatest love and his most devastating heartbreak. Carole Lombard, the platinum blonde comedian known for her quick wit and shocking profanity, was everything Gable had never known he wanted. Their meeting was electric, their courtship scandalous, and their love affair would become the stuff of Hollywood legend, but it would also drive Gable to acts of betrayal that shocked even his closest friends. Lombard was unlike any woman Gable had ever encountered. Where Joan Crawford was intense and calculating, Lombard was spontaneous and genuine. Whereas wives had been older, sophisticated women who treated him like a protege, Lombard was his intellectual equal and emotional match. She could drink him under the table, outcurse him in 3 languages, and match his appetite for adventure without batting an eyelash. But perhaps most intoxicating of all, she was completely unimpressed by his movie star status. Their first conversation lasted until dawn, shocking fellow party guests who watched America's most notorious womanizer become completely captivated by Lombard's irreverent charm. She teased him about his reputation as Hollywood's great lover, challenging him to prove he was more than just a pretty face with a famous mustache. Gable, accustomed to women falling at his feet, found himself working harder than ever before just to earn a smile from the quick-witted actress. But there was one major obstacle to their budding romance. Gable was still married to Rhea Langham, and Lombard was involved with actor William Powell. What followed was a complex web of manipulation and heartbreak as both stars began orchestrating the end of their respective relationships, while conducting an increasingly passionate affair. Gable's behavior during this period revealed a ruthless side that even Hollywood insiders found shocking. He began systematically destroying his marriage to Rhea, picking fights and creating drama designed to push his wife toward divorce. Meanwhile, he pursued Lombard with a single-minded determination that bordered on obsession. He showered her with gifts, wrote her love letters, and even learned to fly a plane because he knew she loved aviation. But perhaps most tellingly, he began to distance himself from Joan Crawford, ending their decade-long affair with a coldness that left Crawford devastated and vindictive. When Rhea Langham finally filed for divorce from Clark Gable in 1939, Hollywood braced itself for the most sensational celebrity scandal of the decade. What the public didn't know was that Rhea had spent 3 years meticulously documenting her husband's infidelities, gathering evidence that could have destroyed not only Gable's career,